All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Show Me the Nuggets, where each week Joe chats with world-class entrepreneurs to find out the key principles, strategies, and processes that lie behind their outstanding achievements. Now, your host, the no bullshit serial entrepreneur, Joe Troyer.
Hey guys, it's Joe Troyer, and welcome back to another episode of Show Me the Nuggets. And I'm sorry, I don't have my typical backdrop. I'm actually sitting in a hotel in Dadeland, which is just outside of Miami. I'm running a little event here in South Florida, but I couldn't miss the opportunity to get with the legend Mike Michalowicz today on this podcast. So welcome, Mike, officially to the show.
Joe, it's awesome to be here, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And thanks. I know this has been in the plan for quite some time.
Yeah.
We're trying to get this done. I know you're a busy guy, so am I. So I'm excited today's finally here, man. For everybody that doesn't know you, I want to do my best to introduce you. I'm sure there aren't many that don't know you, but I originally got turned on through your work through Clockwork, which made a big impact in my life, man. Systems and processes and just looking at business different. I love, E-Myth and other similar, you could say, kind of books along the same vein. But man, Clockwork book gave me such a great framework to actually build out those systems and processes and run with what I think a lot of the other books and training try to do, but honestly, I don't think they do quite as good of a job. And then it was just like a downward spiral, man. It was like, oh, wait, there's the pumpkin plan. And I went through the pumpkin plan. And then most recently, Profit First. And we've been operating under Profit First for about 18 months.
Oh, nice.
In the business.
Hopefully more profitable than ever before, I hope.
Yes, definitely.
Good.
I mean, as a business owner, I'll admit that like finances is not like I'm the entrepreneur, I'm the visionary. That's not something that I follow real closely. I'm like top line revenue. What are our cost of goods? All right, There's my profit. And that's not right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I often got surprised as an entrepreneur with taxes and bills that I never thought were coming and left me often going, what the heck? And I was left with nothing. And so Profit First, man, has made me way more profitable, but not just more profitable, but knowing really what I'm going to take home, which for me has been the big key. Knowing at the end of the day where I'm really at and being able to understand that month in and month out, week in and week out. So with all that being said, man, welcome officially to the show.
I'll take the official welcome, and I'm ready to bring it. I'm ready.
All right, awesome. Let's do it. So let's start, man, with just a little bit of a background. How'd you get into this world?
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur my entire adult life. And I was in the tech space, actually, tech services, setting up computer networks and systems. And then I sold that company. I did another business in computer crime investigation. I had an exit on that one too. It's funny, like one of them was a Fortune 500 exit. The other was a private equity deal. And I like to I shouldn't say downplay. I like to go over that quickly because some people are like, oh, here's some arrogant douchebag that's going to start going into like how great he is. I think the real important part of my story and what triggered the work I do is my third company, which I actually leave off the resume, but it's the most important one. I became an angel investor and I sucked at it. I had no right to be in that space. I wiped out all of my wealth and lost my home. And I lost everything by not running a business well, by not understanding the fundamentals. And it was actually that tragedy, I'm putting air quotes around that because it became actually the most important element of my life, that I realized I don't know much about entrepreneurship. I thought I knew things because I had successes, but I was lucky, and those businesses were never profitable when I was running them. I didn't understand the fundamentals, and I devoted my life after that point to figuring out what makes entrepreneurs successful. Selfishly, I want to do it for myself and then serve others doing it. And so what I do today is I'm an author of those books you shared and others, and I'm committed to simplifying the entrepreneurial journey.
When did it become apparent for you, Mike, that you had to get out and share it? When did it not only just become a destiny for you to learn about this, but when did you realize man, I got to share this with the world? Where did that break or light bulb happen?
Yeah, it wasn't so much as a light bulb, but I remember a few elements. So this company, this angel company I started was a disaster. I was a millionaire in my early 30s because of my businesses, and then I had wiped it all out. And it was such a crush to my identity. It felt like there was a brick wall falling on me, and I could not push it back up. And The stress was unbelievable. Well, I was in this network with the other guys, with some other guys that were business owners, and just telling them about my struggles one day. One guy pulls me aside. He's like, "Hey, man, I got the solution for you." He has like a little look around, like he's like a drug dealer or something. And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Start a journal," which is a guy's word for diary. And I'm like, dude, are you effing kidding me? Start writing a diary? He's like, write your diary. I'm like, no way. And I thought this meant like, write down successes to start getting the optimism back. Like, I woke up today, was able to walk to the bathroom without crying, right? And he goes, no, no, no. It's not a success journal. He goes, write down any thought in your mind. Whatever you feel in the moment, just start writing it. But I'm like, Joe, like it's angry thoughts, hateful, exactly. So I started a journal. I started writing down some of the most angry thoughts I've ever had about myself, about finger pointing at other people, at God, and why I didn't deserve this. And also, I started writing down thoughts of around business and why it was flawed and what I was doing wrong. Here's what's fascinating about a journal, Joe, is as I was doing that, sometimes after writing down those nasty thoughts, I just felt this relief. Sometimes for a few seconds, sometimes a few minutes, and sometimes a few hours. And during those gaps, I could start focusing again. And I started to really think, like, why couldn't I be regularly profitable? Even though that's the foundational reason we started a business, why am I not regularly profitable? Why is my business not running efficiently? So in that journal, I started writing the original ideas and thoughts for some of my books. And then that was one big element. There was another element too. There's a fascinating question we're asked, and I think you've heard this before. If you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And it's a great question because it allows us to fantasize, to play with a dream. And I said, one day if I had all the money in the world, I'd be an author. I found, though, there's a flaw in that question, that it presupposes you need all the money in the world to do it. And so therefore, we never do it. I found a second question. When I had no money and I was, broke, I said, what do I want to do as my vocation, my source of funds? Like, what do I want to do for work to make money? And when that answer is the same as a dream, when you have all the money, it was the same. I said, I want to be an author who makes money, and I want to be an author one day who has impact. Like, oh my gosh, it's the same answer. That's the go all in bet. And when you have nothing, it's not much of an all in. I didn't have anything. So I just started writing and marketing it and writing and marketing it. And, I'm now in my 12th year into it. And it's been a long slog, but particularly in the last like 3-4 years, my books are starting to get a little bit of notoriety. So from the outside world, I was like, oh, who's the new guy on the scene? Well, there's like 10 years prior to that of speaking at events where, I get booed off the stage and stuff like that to get to where I am today.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's cool to see both sides, like you said, kind of line up. Like that's magical. And I can definitely point back to times in my career where those two weren't lined up, and where it's like you're mucking through the mud, and it's just like, oh man, like this is awful. And as soon as I can find myself get back and realigned, like it's like a rocket ship. It's just like we're flying. So that's awesome. Tell us about Pumpkin Patch. Tell us where that came
so
from.
Pumpkin Plan is the book. And
Pumpkin Plan, I'm sorry.
Pumpkin Plan, which by the way gets regularly confused. And it's a good indicator to me. Like I chose something that was a little catchy and trying to be cute, but that's a marketing problem. But I wrote this book, The Pumpkin Plan, when I started to investigate what makes a business grow healthily and organically. I found that often we can use what's called biomimicry, use elements of nature and life that work and translate it to business. And I found there's this there's this faction of pumpkin farmers that grow these colossal, big as your car pumpkins, which is bizarre, but these folks are passionate about it. And so I studied them for a good year and found that they changed the growing process from ordinary pumpkin growth just by 5%. They select different seeds. They do the process slightly different, but the pumpkin responds with this explosive growth where ordinary farmers don't experience that. I monitored the steps, and it's like, oh, the steps I use in growing a colossal pumpkin is exactly what we need to do in our business. We need to start off with the seed that matches our climate, our soil, which is our internal desires. Then we got to be very methodical about weeding out small pumpkins because they detract from the nutrients and energy to the big pumpkin. And I translated that process to show people how to grow organically, healthily, and quickly. a business.
So what I want to do, Mike, is like we could talk about for hours, I'm sure, just each one of your books individually
Yeah,
and deep dive. But I think what would be the best thing for everybody that's going to tune in is let's give them kind of a high level overview of each of the books.
yeah,
And then let's try to boil it down kind of 80-20. Let's give them some stuff that they can implement now. Let's give them a couple aha moments, and then let's transition to the next one.
love it.
Because man, like your books has made all three for me. I've only read the three. I got a little more reading to do. Have made a huge impact for me, and I want to make sure that everybody walks away with some impact.
I love it.
Because I know if they do, and we get some early results for them, right, they'll go pick up your books, and it'll make a bigger impact.
Right, that serves my selfish interest, right? But I just want to serve people. So with the pumpkin plan, I'll give you the kind of the quick overview of how to execute on
Perfect.
it. So the essence of it is there's three elements I found that position a business for colossal growth. And what we need is to have a true uniqueness in the market, distinguish ourselves from everyone else. Most businesses try to be better than the competition, and that is actually the wrong move. I answer the phone in 2 rings, you answer in 1, you're better than me, but a lot of better services and better offerings are unnoticed by the client. But the client always notices is different. So the first element is how are we different from the competition as opposed to better? But this does intersect with 2 other things. There must be a community of customers that want to buy it. So how are you different, and who's the core community that you're going to cater to? This is niche specialization. And it's the one more element, the intersection of that is systemization. How are you different? Who's the community you serve, and how do you have it run on automatic? And when you run all 3 of those, you experience colossal growth. Sadly, most businesses only do 1 or 2 of these elements. Maybe they're somewhat different than competition. Maybe they have a community that wants it, but they're not systematized. Well, that becomes a trap. It's called time for money, because if you're unique and people want it, but it's not running on automatic, you have to do the work. It's time for money. It's a scaling issue immediately. Other businesses have great systems. They have clients that want to buy it, but it's not unique in the market. That causes downward price pressure because you're seen as a commodity. You're not distinct in the market, so that's DPP. So we need to have the intersection of these 3 elements. Here's the one action item, though, that can really spark growth that I discovered in Pumpkin Plan, and I call it the client evaluation. If you have existing clients, look at your client revenue over the last year and sort your clients by most revenue to least revenue. The reason this step is important because you can determine how much clients appreciate you by their spend. Don't ever listen to their words. Everyone will say, oh, you're great. And then they go on Yelp the next day and say, you're the suckiest company ever, So what you can judge is their wallet. People speak the truth through their wallets, not their words. Sort your clients by revenue. Look at your clients with the most revenue and appreciate that they like you. Then of those clients that are generating the most revenue for you, do what I call the crush or cringe factor. Go through each one and say, do I love them? I have a crush, or I hate them. Because some clients can spend a lot of money, but they're jerks. That's a cringe factor. It's the intersection of clients that spend the most and you have a crush on are the ones we want to clone. Once you identify those customers, clone them by asking 2 core questions. One question is, or actually 3 questions. One question is, what am I doing right? And this is a Jedi mind trick, by the way. When you ask a customer what you're doing right, they don't tell you what you're doing right. They actually tell you what they judge you on. I had my technology company, my first company, I asked my best customer, what am I doing right? He said, it's your company's responsiveness. You get on site fast. The day he told me that's what I'm doing right was the day I knew I need to get on site faster, because that's what he judges my company's quality on. So when your customers tell you do something right, that's actually the one thing you need to improve. Second question is, what am I doing wrong? But never use those words, because clients won't tell you to your face what you're doing wrong. It's socially inappropriate. They'll tell you you're great, and then they go on Yelp. You got to ask, what's wrong with my industry? And when you ask what's wrong with the industry, now you're asking about the person outside the room, and this is a call to action. So my client, the same client, I said, hey, what am I doing wrong? He's like, you know what? The billing practices in the computer industry suck. From our last guys, it's so confusing. We feel like we're being overcharged. It's like, okay, when you know what's wrong with your industry, that's the opportunity to differentiate. So I was one of the first companies to go to a flat rate. Just pay me 1 bill a month, and I'll take care of everything. So what am I doing right? You have to actually do better. What the industry is doing wrong is the thing you need to do to differentiate yourself. And the last question, I wouldn't word it this way, but where do you hang out, or where do you congregate? You'll find that communities congregate together. I was working with hedge funds. My best client was a hedge fund. I asked them where hedge funds go. They don't go to the Chamber of Commerce, so I stopped going to those events. They go to a hedge fund conference, and I started appearing there. If I'm selling to marketers, you're at the event. I should be there. And
Yep.
you know what? There's probably is a computer company that sells to marketers, and I bet you they're not there, and it's their loss. So that's how you pumpkin plan your business. Go where they congregate.
Dude, that's a brilliant breakdown. That I as an agency coach, I see people like never figure out those things, and I love
Yeah,
that.
it's
Super,
true.
super, super actionable. Very 80/20, right? Super
Yeah,
easy to
yeah,
implement. So that's brilliant. And picking a niche is obviously something that I believe everybody's got to do, and then those things
yes,
right behind it. And yeah, man, they got it figured out. That's
yes,
beautiful.
yes.
Cool, man. So, any other thoughts on the pumpkin plan before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, just the one last thought is, I've been presenting on it for years. That's one of my oldest books, and or most established is probably a softer term. And I present on it. I present it all the time, and people will say, "But Mike, this is an all-in bet. I can't afford it. I want a guarantee." I said, "Well, I'll give you a guarantee. I guarantee the method of trying to serve all clients in all ways will never work. Like you'll never drive down a field and see massive field of pumpkins and one miraculously large, massive pumpkins growing out of it." Because the ordinary process of doing everything for everybody spreads us out. All the energy and effort goes everywhere, and it prohibits colossal growth. So it's this focus on a specific community, serving them in a specific way, catering to them better than anyone else, that actually facilitates colossal growth. And it's not guaranteed to work. Sometimes the economy shifts. Sometimes a massive competitor comes in and kicks your ass. There's
Yep.
external variables we can't control. But if we don't do this, what I call the pumpkin plan process, and you do the ordinary, I serve all small and medium-sized business, you're guaranteed never to experience colossal growth.
That's beautiful. You can't be everything to everybody,
You can't.
100%.
I've tried it too, and you can't.
Yeah, it's interesting when some markets are really young and immature. You can for a period of time,
That's
right?
true.
But then you have market sophistication that comes in, and
Very
you can't,
quickly.
right? When it's surrounded by a million people, and that's happened. That's really big and happening right now in the marketing and agency world. And you can't be a generalist and do well in today's market. The sophistication's too high, right? Everybody's
Exactly.
worked with so many different agencies and different marketers. If you're not a specialist, you're not getting anywhere fast. So next up, which book you want to go through next?
Clockwork, was that one you threw out
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
Yeah, so Clockwork, the subtitle of Clockwork is Design Your Business to Run Itself. And of all the work I've done, I'm on a mission, a purpose, is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. And what I mean by this is the day you start your business, your marketing agency, or whatever it is, the world that doesn't know anything about entrepreneurship, like your friends and stuff, look at you and go, "Oh my God, you're a millionaire now. You're printing cash. You sit on the beach drinking booze all the time." The reality is when you start a business, we deplete all our money, we're stressed beyond belief, we resent our business even, we're exhausted. This gap is what I call entrepreneurial poverty, and it is my life's purpose to close this gap. I believe entrepreneurs should be wildly profitable and successful and happy because we fuel the economy, but we also fuel the salaries for other people, our employees, if we have them, vendors we pay. So we are critical. And sadly, I think the biggest form of entrepreneurial poverty is actually in time. We exhaust ourselves and then don't have any time left for family or friends. And like, that's not the reason for living. So that's why I wrote this book, is to address the time gap. Clockwork is the realization that productivity is not the solution for business. It is necessary, but it's not the solution for an effective business. We need to achieve what's called organizational efficiency. Productivity is where I have 8 hours of work every day, and if I simply pack it in, become more efficient getting that work done, more productive, I can pack more on it. And as I add more work, I pack that down, I need to become more productive. So productivity is an impaction of work, and if one thing goes askew that morning or that day, the entire day is ruined, probably the entire month, because we're floundering to catch up. So productivity is all about racing. Organizational efficiency is about choreographing the resources around us, our employees, our vendors, our technology, even our clients themselves can be organized in a way to achieve an outcome. The definition of an entrepreneur is someone that choreographs the resources to achieve the vision that they've set. It is not hustle and grind. In fact, it frustrates me to still hear those terms being circulated. Hustle and grind means carry the business on your back. Yeah, and listen, in the very early stages where you're an army of one, you have no technology, no nothing. Yeah, you got to get off the ground off your own effort. But very quickly, we better get out of that mindset and start organizing resources. It's what's going on up here, not about our ability to be workaholics. So Clockwork is about that transition. Just a couple of practical things you can take away from this. Probably the most important element of Clockwork is defining what's called the QBR. It stands for Queen Bee Role, and it is the heartbeat, the pulse activity that makes the organization function. And most of us don't know what it is. The best way to share it by example. If we look at FedEx, FedEx has a reputation for delivering packages on time. In fact, that's what they want to be known for. Yeah, they offer other services like print shops and stuff, but the core reputation is delivering packages on time. We as small business owners have to determine, what do we want to stake our reputation on? What do we want to be known for? What do we want to be world famous for? Once you declare that and are clear on what our biggest promise is to our customers, then we rewind one level and say, what's the activity, the most important activity that supports it? That's the QBR, or the Queen Bee Role. In FedEx, they promise to deliver packages on time. The activities they do are countless. They have print shops that are doing printing, they do packaging, and they do customer service, and they do logistics. But if we look at all those things, the one most important activity of all those for delivering packages on time is logistics. The movement of packages from point A to point B is the most important thing to make sure that the package is delivered. And I'd argue that tomorrow FedEx could come out with a big announcement saying, we've decided to ramp our customer service. We're going to be the friendliest company in the world, and screw the logistics. The packages can find their own way. Well, you know what's going to happen? Within a week, the headlines will come out. FedEx has no clue where your package is, but they're friendly about it. Like FedEx would go out of business within a week. A billion-dollar corporation would collapse. Now, conversely, FedEx could do the reverse. FedEx could say, you know what? We're going all in on logistics. So much so that we're canceling any customer service. We're closing out the department. All those people are going to be moved to the warehouse and the trucks to further facilitate logistics. We'll never miss a package delivery. Fast forward 1 week, the headline comes out, says, every single package from FedEx delivered on time, but you can't speak with them about it. They would not go out of business. They may be compromised a little bit. Their reputation may be hurt or tweaked, but they won't go out of business because they're delivering on their promise. That's the power of the QBR. The QBR is the one activity that, when done and delivered on, maintains and increases the reputation. If ignored, it crushes the company. All the other stuff needs to just be in the ballpark. So for our business, we have to ask ourselves, what is the most important thing that we do? And to find it, we simply ask, what do we stake our reputation on? What's our guarantee to our customers? What do we want to be known for? Then determine what the activity is. That's your QBR. Bring efficiency to that. Always have that humming along, and all the other stuff will come into alignment. That is the heart of organizational efficiency, is the QBR. And that's one of the core concepts. There's one more concept I want to share from the book, and it's the concept of a four-week vacation. And this is what it is, Joe. I found that if a business owner in a small business can take off 4 consecutive weeks from a business, a full physical and digital disconnect, that business is primed to run by itself. I took my 3rd 4-week vacation recently, and here's what it is. The day I said I'm going to take a 4-week vacation, I set it out about a year out, and I encourage most businesses, don't start your 4-week vacation tomorrow. It's going to put your business in turmoil, but a year to a year and a half from now, schedule it. Then I had the oh shit moment. I said, I just scheduled a 4-week vacation. I'm not going to be here. Now my business mindset shifted from how am I going to get this work done to who is going to get this work done. And I started to delegate out to virtual team. I have 12 employees now, to employees and so forth. And very deliberately, I removed myself from doing any work. Ultimately, when I went on that 4-week vacation, the business continued to work on its own. And if a business can work on its own for 4 weeks, it can work on its own into perpetuity, likely, because most elements of a business happen in these 4-week cycles, invoicing, client concerns, hiring, firing. I remember coming back and asking my colleagues here, I said, hey, I was away for 4 weeks. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1, you need me back immediately. Let's stop this conversation, get to work, Mike. And a 10, we never want to see you again. Where do you put me? And I said, Mike, probably a 9.5. And I'm like, whoa, you don't need me? They're like, no, we feel empowered. We're running the business. They said the 0.5 is we kind of like you, so you can stick around, but we got this, baby. That's a clockworked business. is a business that has no dependency on the owner. And here's the last part I want to share. As a small business owner, you then have the right to reinsert yourself in the business in what gives you joy. So I still work because I love doing these interviews. I actually love writing books. And so I continue to do that. But the business has been positioned that if I take time off or a year off, we'll continue to move along and grow.
I love the process that you laid out for defining that vacation, that 4-week vacation, and then how you work up to that, right? And how you get your team kind of working up to that. Could you break that down a little bit? I think like that's something that's really actionable. Man, when you said 4-week vacation, like I'm not gonna lie, about shit my pants, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you're right.
just
Yeah,
like,
people are
wait,
like, holy
what?
shit, this guy a jokester.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand the value, I get it, but I couldn't see myself in it. But as
Right.
soon as you explain like the plan leading up and the vision and what you do in the next 12 or 18 months, I'm like, no problem, I got that. And I ended up doing it in 6 months. But
Oh man, that's incredible. Yeah, it's a
because I was
ramping
able
process.
to see myself in it, right? And if you wouldn't have given that, man, I would have just, it would have never have happened.
Never happened. Yeah, it's small steps, and any behavioral shift too, we need to do in small steps. That's why I tell people, the fortification does not happen tomorrow. We set it way out, but we have to commit to it. And the goal is actually not the vacation. It's not about, hey, I'm going to go out and hit the Caribbean and party it up. It's about the business having freedom from the owner. And how we spend our time is irrelevant as long as we don't connect with the office. But then we have to stage it out. So what we do is we start doing tests. We actually change the verbiage we call ourselves. Like I tell entrepreneurs, don't call yourself an entrepreneur anymore. Sadly, it's been bastardized to this hustle and grind mentality. Let's call ourselves shareholders, which is kind of weird when you go to a party and someone's like, what do you do? And you're like, I'm a shareholder of a small business. You're like, what the hell is that? Like, I don't know, some weirdo guy told me to say that. But I own stock in Ford. As a shareholder, I don't work at Ford. I don't go to the factory. When they send their quarterly profit distributions, I'm like, I don't say, oh, I need to return this or I got to earn it off. I simply render an opinion through votes. And that's what we do in our small business. We own stock in our business. We're shareholders. We render opinion and direction, but we're not there to work in it. We're not there to do anything but collect the money for owning the business and render opinion.
Yep.
So first call yourself a shareholder, not an entrepreneur. Then, 3-4 months from now, schedule your first 1-week vacation. And the goal is to have a digital disconnect. Historically, when people take a vacation, they do, I call it the crunch and scramble. Leading up to the day or two before we leave, we are working our ass off just to carry us for that 1 week we're away. When we get back, we scramble to recover. Well, that's not a business that runs on automatic. That's simply manipulating time. This 1 week vacation, it's all about your colleagues, whoever you put in place, virtual help systems to do it. And you totally disconnect and you close your eyes. 1 week is a short enough period that if disaster strikes, when you return, you can still recover. Then when you get back, the goal is to seek out what were all the problems, because any problems you had are the problems that we need to resolve for the next vacation. Then we take a 2-week vacation, then a 3-week, and ultimately we build to this 4-week over time. But here's the funniest part. I've been traveling the world. I'm so lucky, Joe, as being an author, to get invited to speak at some of the coolest venues. I was traveling through Europe, and I'm in Europe. Actually, it's Germany specifically, Frankfurt, Germany. I'm keynoting on Clockwork. And the grand kind of like build the drum up. I'm like, you have to take a 4-week vacation. Like, you got to leave your business for 4 weeks. It's got to continue to operate and run successfully. And someone raised their hand. They're like, do you realize you're in Germany? And I'm like, I do. And like, we all take a 4-week vacation. All of Europe does this. Like BMW, like call anyone in Europe during August, they're all on vacation. And BMW doesn't shut down. Those businesses don't shut down. This is mandated into the culture. So it's actually more of a phenomena for the North Americans that we have to grind and hustle our way through it. We have our brethren in Europe that's proven that this system works. We've got to implement it.
That's crazy. I didn't actually know that fact about Germany. Yeah, that's
well, actually, it's most of Europe, most of Western Europe. It's funny. Just try call anyone over there in August, and they're like, vacation time. It's funny, and their businesses keep moving along.
Yeah, that's great. I had my manager in one of my businesses read the book as well. Went through, kind of helped me through the process, implement it. I had them identify the queen bee role. I let them like, this is your business. Like, go figure it out.
Beautiful.
I already did it. But then
Beautiful.
Come back and like, let's mastermind about this. Let's talk about this. And I didn't try to change their mind. I let them run with it. And one thing that we came up with, and it was actually a good idea in my business. I'd love to hear if it was good, if you think it's good outside of my business. But that first vacation, we purposely didn't tell anybody else in the company. And this was my kind of project manager's idea. Like, basically, we set up all the systems and processes. They're good to go. It should be fine. But let's just have you go dark.
I love it.
Right?
And did they notice?
So don't give anybody a heads up. And yeah, they noticed, but it was fine. I got back and everybody was like, "Where were you?" Oh yeah, so cool. We're doing this cool thing called, Clockwork. And they're like, "What?"
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great test. And that is the theory, that when you leave, when you go, no one, they may notice your lack of physical presence, but that they have a pathway for the business to continue to operate. So much so, and I didn't include this in the book, but this is the discovery we had in our office. I believe every linchpin employee needs to take a fortification. So once I did this, I realized, oh my God, Kelsey, who manages our operations, she's now president of our company, but she was, at that time, was managing our operations. I'm like, Kelsey, you got to leave because we're so dependent upon you. It's a problem. And so she went through the same process, and now we have redundancy. If Kelsey can't do something, we have the backup in place. And listen, one day we as the owner, one of our colleagues, will leave, hopefully not get sick or hurt, but something could happen. And it's a shame that we try to scramble and recover when the inevitable is going to happen. We need to get in place today. And now Kelsey, as president, she says, you know what? Everyone here needs to take a fortification. We need to get that level of redundancy in place. It's a great benefit to our colleagues, but it's really the greatest benefit to the business itself.
Yeah. It's a great benefit, right? When hiring.
It's a great benefit. Yeah. Who else does that?
I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's so beneficial to the business as well. I mean, it makes it bulletproof. That's awesome.
Makes the business.
That's a ballsy one. I don't think my business partner is going to like that one, Mike.
You think so? Yeah, until they start seeing the benefit. Like, I was terrified to do it with Kelsey. No. And then I was like, holy cow, we are stronger. We are so much stronger. And Kelsey's loyalty. She's like, Mike, I've never experienced. She ended up taking 8 weeks. We decided because she wanted to go on sabbatical. She's like, I've never been with a company that did that, and we paid her too, because I want to have the financial viability to do that. We didn't tell her, by the way, we're going to pay her. Is when she returned, we said, by the way, you're getting full pay for that, and she was blown away. So the side benefit is that you get this extreme loyalty because you're caring for your colleagues. But the winner again is the business.
So tell us about Profit First.
So Profit First currently is my most popular book, but I think, and I'm very proud of that book. I think I have another book that's going to kind of supersede that one. I have a new book I'm launching in April. Profit First is what came about from the realization the vast majority of small businesses are not profitable, and I was one of them for way too long. And I was wondering, like, why am I not profitable? The key reason I started my business was for profit. Like, I wanted financial freedom, and I didn't do it. And there was a study that's conducted. There's 180 million small businesses globally. That's defined by the SBA as a company that does $25 million in revenue or less. And 83% of them are surviving check by check. No profits, dying on the vine. And I'm like, why is this? Because this is the whole reason we do this. What's wrong with us? And that's when I had an epiphany for me. I was like, oh my God, the formula to profit is the wrong formula. We're told that sales minus expenses equals profit. That's the formula. And it's wrong, because it tells us that profit is last. And it's even in our vernacular. So we call profit the bottom line. We call it the year end. All those terms say profit comes last. Here's what's wrong with that. When something comes last, it's human nature to say it's insignificant. Those guys are real jerks. That's why they're last on my list. That's why they're bottom feeders. Your health. If you ever had a health scare, you would never say, you know what, I really got to start putting my health last. You'd put it first. It's human nature. Something that's last is insignificant, can be avoided, and can be delayed. When something is important, it comes first. I put my health first. I put my family first. I put my best friends first. That's the problem with profit. They say it comes last. So in execution, most business owners wait till the end of the quarter, the end of the year, look at their income statement, no profit. Oh, darn it, maybe next year. And we literally wait another 365 days, or this is a leap year, so 366 days, for profit. Here's the new formula I teach in Profit First. It's sales minus profit equals expenses. So profit comes first. In action, every time we have a sale, money flows into our business, we take a predetermined percentage of that money, profit, hide it away in a profit account, and the leftover is what's available to operate the business. So now you have to operate your business within the confines of what you define as profitability. If you want to achieve 10% profit, take 10% profit first, and you can only spend what's left over. We're reverse engineering profit. In fact, this system's been around forever. It's called the pay yourself first principle. And it's existed in personal finances. I'm just the guy who says this applies to business finances too.
It's funny. At a young age, I actually got introduced to that. My dad got out, the little envelopes, and here you go. You got your paycheck. Now this goes in here, this goes in here, and it wasn't exactly laid out, right? Like Profit First is, but ultimately, like, here's how you manage your money.
That's the system.
And ultimately, man, I wish I would have just applied that to business a whole lot sooner.
The answer is me too. Me too, because my mother taught us the system. She had an envelope for the mortgage, one for the church that we went to, and one for food. And I remember she would grab the food envelope and go to the food store, and she worked with the food envelope. So with Profit First, what we do, and we set this up at our bank. So the real simple system is you have, we call it the 5 foundational accounts: income, profit, owner's comp, tax, and OPEX. I explain it all in detail in the book. But money flows in the income account, and then we allocate it to the different envelopes, if you will. Now, since we've pre-allocated money at the bank to its intended use, when we log into our bank account, and most business owners run their business off their bank accounts, so continue to do that. When you log in, now you know what the intended use of the funds is before you spend it. If it's for operations of the business, it must come out of OPEX. If it's for your profitability, it comes out of the profit account. That's the core concept. So it's the envelope system matched with a few other things, the pay yourself first principle, so forth, applied. And that's the basics. There's more steps to prevent yourself from stealing from yourself and so forth. But foundationally, you're taking your profit first, allocating to its intended use, and working within those parameters.
So me running the agency and marketing side of the business, like, it's pretty profitable. If you watch your bottom line, right? If you really pay attention to things. But I never used to really pay attention to it because there was always just lots of cash sitting in the bank account, or so I thought, right? And so I just operated it like, the whole thing was just mine and it was all profit, but it wasn't. And that was wrong. So, man, I love, like, I get a little twitch and it's like, how profitable am I? I log in and I see, my profit account, and I see exactly how much money there is, and it's down to the dollar. It's down to the cent, and it's like the flick of the wrist. Like, it's nice finally knowing where I actually stand.
Yeah, that's my favorite part, is that based upon a behavior we've always done, log into our bank accounts to look at how much money we have, we now start to see the flow of cash through our business. We see what's money is available for profit, what's available to pay ourselves a salary, which is different than profit. Profit is a reward for being a shareholder. Owner's compensation is a salary for working what we do in our business, the work we do. We even reserve money for taxes. So when tax time comes, the business can pay your taxes. And this is regards, you can have an S Corp, C Corp, your business can always pay your taxes. You just do it through a special mechanism. So you got to speak with an accountant to do it right, but the money can be reserved. And then you see what's truly available. And so one example is if $1,000 flows into your business, I used to say, I got $1,000 to spend. Wrong. Some of that goes to profit, some goes to owner's comp, some goes to tax. I may only have $600 for my business or $400, but now I know what I have to work with. And what's so amazing about human nature, I talk about the concept in the book, it's called Parkinson's Law. It's human nature to work within the confines of what we have. If we have more money, we will spend more. If we have less money, we'll spend less, force frugality, but also we become very innovative and we stretch the dollars. So I'm very honored and proud to say that we have over 300,000 companies that have successfully implemented Profit First and are more profitable than ever before because of this. It's pretty ridiculously simple, but it works.
Would you tell everybody real quick about Profit First Professionals in case they're like, man, I suck at accounting and I can't do this, but I
suck at accounting too. I hired a Profit First Professional. So Profit First Professionals is an organization I started with accountants, bookkeepers, and now coaches. So we call it the ABCs. And these are people that have gone through an extensive examination certification process over 6 months. And they have mastered the system, and they can manage your books, do your accounting, even guide your business to growth, all around the Profit First principles. So they're all rooted in driving profitability, adhering to the principles of the book, but also have taken it to a whole new level because they're the ones out executing and supporting companies doing that. So if someone wants to check it out, it's profitfirstprofessionals.com, and you can click on the option to find a Profit First Professional. We'll match you up to somebody.
What are the recommendations on the like allocations of like what percentage goes into kind of each category or the tap there? What are those suggestions, or where should somebody start?
Yeah, so we set that up. We call it the TAPS, or target allocation percentages. We conducted a survey, a study of about 1,000 of the most fiscally elite companies in all different industries and categories, but we're just the fiscally most responsible and really crushing it on profit. And based upon different revenue ranges, we found profit percentages. So one that I can think off the top of my head is if you're somewhere between $1 and $5 million in revenue, which I know a lot of people you work with, Joe, are, about 10% of the top line revenue is going to profit. So say you have a $2 million company, that company's allocating $200,000 on an annualized basis to profit. The 10% is going to pay the owner, so $200,000 as a owner salary. 15% or so is being allocated to profit, so that's $300,000, and the remainder, which is 1.3 million, 65%, is going to operations of the business. Now, people hear that and they're like, dude, I have a $2 million business, but I spend like $2.5 million to operate it. Like, I'm losing money. Those numbers are never going to happen for me. And that's not true. They will happen. It's just not where you start. The people that fail implementing profit first, and it doesn't work for everyone, the reason it fails most often is they go in too aggressively, too abruptly. So I tell people, start at 1%. If you've never had profit before, allocate 1%. So if $1,000 comes in as a deposit, say 1% of $1,000 is $10. Allocate that toward profit. And now, if you can run your business off $1,000, you can run your business off $990. It's such a small change. But what's a big change is now you have $10 in that profit account. And when you start seeing that cash pile up, that's when our profit muscle starts to build. And over time, we'll move 1% to 2, 3, and start growing to 10, 15, and hitting those target allocation percentages.
What are your thoughts, Mike, on the mentality that I know so many people have about like, yeah, but I gotta plow back and I gotta invest, and that really don't think that they should be taking any profit. Like, what are the concerns that you have with people that think like that, and what advice would you give them?
So those concerns, I have massive concerns around that. So I'll start with the basic. I ask people when they're like, "Oh, I need to plow back and push back money in the business to grow more." I'm like, "Well, what's the intention of growth?" They're like, "To make more money." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" Like, the more I make, ultimately, the more I'll have. I'm like, "Oh, so you're trying to get to profit, is what you're saying?" Like, yeah. Well, we need to grow our way there. I'm like, okay, so you're going to put all this stress on your organization, more and more sales. If you haven't figured out profit today, you think you're really going to master it when you've with tons of more and more responsibility in your business? That's a problem. So we need to get the profit habit baked into our business. The second thing is I tell people that profit is a habit, and if we don't know how to make profit at a smaller size, we'll never make it at a bigger size. But here's probably my most fascinating thing that I discovered. Of these 300,000 businesses, and we have thousands of case studies now, consistently the businesses that have taken their profit first grow faster than their contemporaries. Because here's what happens: when you take your profit first, you have less money. You're constrained now on how to operate your business. Instead of $1,000 in OpEx, now maybe you have $400 in OpEx. Now you have to be more selective in how you spend that money. So it forces you to look at the community that is paying you the biggest margins, and you have to look at the products or services you offer that drive the most profit. So now you're starting to specialize in a community and a service offering. That's called niche specialization. Well, if you're a niche specialist, you start building a reputation in that community. So that community starts talking about you, saying, "There's someone that's crushing it in our market. They're so good at what they do. I'll pay them anything because they're the best." Now, other customers come on board, so you start growing faster because word of mouth starts building. So businesses that take their profit first become more capable and more catering to a community, which actually fosters faster growth. Ironically, it's the businesses that say, "I'm going to plow back, push back money," which are soft terms for expenses. "I'm going to spend more money on my business," that become more diversified. And this is not a positive definition of diversification, because now we have our hands in a lot of cookie jars trying to grow things, and we spread out our energy and our effort. We become diluted, and it prohibits profitability. And ultimately, that focus on plow back and push back often starts to cap out growth too.
When you think about your books, do you think about them like an ecosystem? What I mean by that is, like, I'm sure you must get the question often, right? Like, Mike, like, these books are great. Like, you just did some type of keynote, right? Somebody's like super impressed. And then they're like, "But where do I start?" Right?
Yes.
Like, you wrote these great books and I'm really excited, but I've heard about this one. I've heard about this one. I've heard about this one, right? We just gave them entrepreneurial ADD. How
Right.
do you advise somebody?
Growth.
Yeah. How do you
Yeah.
advise like somebody, like what's the order, or how should somebody decide the order of how they go through the frameworks that you've built out, so to speak?
So yeah, you kind of set me up perfectly. I don't know if this was by design, but my newest book tackles this because I realized this is the thesis for my new book, that the biggest challenge entrepreneurs have is knowing what their biggest challenge is. And if you don't know what your biggest challenge is in your business, you are going to take 2 steps forward, yet 3 steps back. Most businesses do that. It's constantly spinning because we're working on everything. So what's the one thing you need to work on within your business that's going to have the greatest impact? So when I tell people what books should, they ask me, Mike, well, which one of your books should I start with? I'm like, well, what's your biggest challenge?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know. So my new book, I call it Fix This Next, is a compass to identify exactly what to work on. Most business owners rely on their gut. I did for years, and I discovered my gut is actually not a good resource for business operations. It's great for survival of myself. Like if I walk down a dark alley and I get the heebie-jeebies, I should turn around and leave because I'm instinctually wired into myself, but I'm not neurologically wired into my business. And yet I use the same things like, oh, my gut says I need more sales. Oh, we need to do this promotion. But that's not necessarily true. Sometimes we need to focus on a profit habit. Sometimes we need to build efficiency. Sometimes it's about lead conversion. Other times it's about prospecting. Other times it's actually about defining transformation over transaction. It can be anything. So we need a system. So Fix This Next is the name of the new book, and it's a hierarchy of needs based upon Maslow's hierarchy of needs, translated to business. I call it the business hierarchy of needs. And you can go through a series of questions and see exactly where your business is hurting most now and concentrate your energy on resolving that, and it leaps you forward. So instead of taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, now we're taking a leap forward, and then once that's done, we analyze again, pinpoint where we are in the hierarchy, and take a leap forward. So it's an overview. There's a little more to it, obviously, but it's in Fix This Next.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. Now you got me all excited,
On
pre-sold
a
on
new
your
book,
book.
yeah.
Can I go
April
sign up for the
28th.
list?
Yeah.
Oh man, we're almost there. We're almost
We're
there. I'll
almost
save a
there.
spot. I think, man, I'll have to re-go through the last 3 books as well and read the one that I haven't yet before that comes. So I'll be prepped. I'll be good to
Sounds
go.
good. You'll be prepped. You'll be ready.
So, man, I really, really appreciate you spending the last 45, 50 minutes with us. It
Thank
means a
you,
lot.
Joe.
I'm super excited to bring you to my community. And you covered a lot super fast. You gave a lot of value. I mean,
Yeah.
this was really great. Really 80/20 on each of, well, at least 3 of your books, right? And really fast wins that everybody can make. So I really appreciate that. I just want to end it with, is there anything, man, that you think that we missed, Mike? Anything that you feel like, man, I just got to add this last thing, like before we.
Okay, I'll give you a final
end.
thought. I mean, there's tons of things. I can go on forever, so many things, but there's a big one that I think a lot of entrepreneurs miss on, and it is in the category of profit. I just want everyone to know your clients are starving for you to be profitable. They're dying for. They want you to be wildly profitable. Yet they will never use those words. No client will come up to you and say, "Hey, can you start charging me more? I love to be ripped off, please." But here's what clients will say. They'll say, I need your full attention. I need to crush it in my marketing. I need you to put your best effort into it. You can't be distracted by anyone else. Take care of me. That's what your customers will say. And the only way you can take care of your customers to the ultimate degree is have no financial worry. If you're worried about making your next dollar, you're focused on client B while trying to serve client A. You're only half there. So we need to be profitable because profitability brings about stability. Stability brings about concentration, focus, and the ability to deliver extraordinarily well to your clients. So your clients will never say, I want you to be more profitable in those words, but they are saying that by saying they want your full attention. So you have a responsibility to be fiscally healthy, to be very profitable.
That's awesome. I think that pushes right back into everything that I just preached to agencies too, is that they got to focus on a niche and a vertical, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if not, I mean, it's so I love that you said that because that reinforces everything that I say. I talk to so many generalists again all day, every day that just won't stick in their own damn lane.
I know.
And it's
I
like,
know.
please,
Do it.
Joe,
Please
help
do
me,
it.
help me. I need this
Do it.
email. I need more revenue. Pick a damn niche. Like,
Pick a niche.
so I
Stick.
love that. I love that. So, Mike, man, thank you so much. Where's the best place to reach out with you on social?
Cool. So if you want more details on me, go to mikemotorbike.com. It rhymes. It's easy to find. So mikemotorbike.com, and you can get all the resources from my website there. My books, free chapter downloads, I'm a former columnist for the Wall Street Journal. You can get that too. And I also have a podcast called Entrepreneurship Elevated.
Awesome. I actually haven't listened to the podcast. I'll definitely have to check that out.
Oh,
And
I hope you like it.
by
It's
the
a
way,
lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Signing off, the last thing I'll say is I just love that you made your domain MikeTheMotorbike.com.
Yeah, Mike Motorbike. No, yeah, Mike Motorbike.
Mike
Yeah.
Motorbike.
Yeah, because it rhymes.
Because you realize people are going to misspell it too, right? Like,
yeah, no one can spell Michalowicz, so Mike Motorbike is pretty easy.
Yeah, so you just leaned into it, man. I absolutely love that. That's fantastic. So, Mike, man, thank you so much. Again, we'll get this podcast up for you. We'll make sure to let you know what it is. And everybody, I can't give Mike and his books any bigger glowing endorsement than I think you guys have seen today. Super, super think that you guys should pick each of them up. And Mike, thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate it, man.
It's been a joy. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Joe Troyer here signing out.